Hi, this is Martin, and I'd like to cover today one of the most beautiful books in the Bible, and that is the Book of Ruth. It's a story about the beauty of friendliness, of family, of stick together with people, love, care, concern. I think it's all exemplified in the Book of Ruth. However, before we start, there are a couple of terms which I'd like to give explanations of the meaning of the words in the Book of Ruth for those of us who happen not to be farmers. The first one is gleaning, Gleaning. Ruth goes into the fields and gleans among the ears of grain following the reaper. Gleaning is the act of collecting leftover crops after they have been commercially harvested. It just so happens that Ruth gleans in the field owned by Boaz, a relative of Naomi's husband Elimenich. Gleaning was a right provided to the poor and destitute in ancient times. Another term is winnowing. So winnowing, W-I-N-N-O-W-I-N-G, barley or other grains. Winnowing is one step in the processing of grains. First, the grain is threshed or crushed by foot or stone or some other means to break the husks away from the kernels. Then the grains are winnowed or tossed into the air so the wind can blow away the lighter husks, leaving the prized kernels. Another term that is used is threshing, T-H-R-E-S-H-I-N-G, and the term is used here as the threshing floor in the Book of Ruth. Threshing is the process of separating the grains from the chaff. Marlane is going to be reading along with me today, and I hope you really enjoy it. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. I'll begin with chapter 1, and this concerns about Elimenich's family goes to Moab. In the day when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem in Judah went to live in the country of Moab. He and his wife and 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimenich, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons Marlane and Chilion. They were Ephraites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went into the country of Moab and remained there, but Elimenich, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with 2 sons. These took Moabite wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. When they had lived there about 10 years, both Marlane and Chilion also died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Then she started to return with her daughters-in-law from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had considered his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she had been living, she and her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on their way to go back to the land of Judah.
But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find security, each of you in the house of your husband."
Then she kissed them, and they wept aloud. They said to her,
"No, we will return with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb, that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband, even if I thought there was hope for me. Even if I should have a husband tonight and bear sons, would you then wait until they were grown? Would you then refrain from marrying? No, my daughters. It has been far more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has turned against me." Then they wept aloud again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. So she said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not press me to leave you, to turn back from following you. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do thus to me, and more as well, if even death parts me from you."
When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, She said no more to her. So the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women said,
"Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Call me no longer Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi, when the Lord has dealt harshly with me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?"
So Naomi returned together with Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, who came back with her from the country of Moab. They came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Now Naomi had a kinsman on her husband's side, a prominent rich man of the family of Elimenich, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi,
"Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain, behind someone in whose sight I may find favor." She said to her, "Go, my daughter."
So she went. She came and gleaned in the field behind the reapers. As it happened, she came to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was the family of Elimenich. Just then Boaz came from Bethlehem. He said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." They answered, "The Lord bless you." Then Boaz said to his servant who was in charge of the reapers, "To whom does this young woman belong?" The servant who was in charge of the reapers answered, "She is the Moabite who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab."
She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the reapers."
So she came, and she has been on her feet from early this morning until now, without resting, even for a moment. Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Keep your eyes on the field that is being reaped and follow behind them. I have ordered the young men not to bother you. If you get thirsty, go to the vessels and drink from what the young men have drawn."
Then she fell prostrate with her face to the ground and said to him, "Why have I found favor in your sight, that you should take notice of me when I am a foreigner?"
But Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. May the Lord reward you for your deeds, and may you have a full reward from the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge."
Then she said, "May I continue to find favor in your sight, my lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, even though I am not one of your servants."
At mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come here and eat some of this bread, and dip your morsel in the sour wine." So she sat beside the reapers, and he heaped up for her some parched grain. She ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she got up to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, "Let her glean even among the standing sheaves, and do not reproach her. You must also pull out some handfuls for her from the bundles, and leave them for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." So she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. She picked it up and came into the town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she had gleaned. Then she took out and gave her what was left over after she herself had been satisfied.
Her mother-in-law said to her, "Where did you glean today, and where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, saying, "The name of the man with whom I worked today is Boaz." Then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "Blessed be he by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." Naomi also said to her, "The man is a relative of ours, one of our nearest kin." Then Ruth and Moabite said, "He even said to me, 'Stay close by my young men until they have finished all my harvest.'" Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, "It is better, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, otherwise someone might bother you in the field."
So she stayed close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and wheat harvests. And she lived with her mother-in-law. Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her,
"My daughter, I need to ask some security for you, so that it may be well with you. Now here is our kinsman Boaz, with whose young woman you have been working. See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Now wash and anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." She said to her, "All that you say, I will do."
So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had instructed her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk, and he was in a contented mood, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came steadily and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight the man was startled and turned over, and there, lying at his feet, was a woman. He said, "Who are you?"
And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your cloak over your servant, for you are next of kin."
He said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. This last instance of your loyalty is better than the first. You have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask, for all the assembly of my people know that you are a worthy woman. But now, though it is true that I am a near kinsman, there is another kinsman more closely related than I. Remain this night, and in the morning he will act as next of kin for you. Good, let him do it. If he is not willing to act as next of kin for you, then, as the Lord lives, I will act as next of kin for you. Lie down until the morning." So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before one person could recognize another. For he said, "It must not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor." Then he said, "Bring the cloak you are wearing and hold it out." So she held it. And he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her back. Then he went into the city.
She came to her mother-in-law, who said, "How did things go with you, my daughter?" Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, for he said, 'Do not go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" She replied, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today."
In the 4th chapter, it's pretty detailed, so I'll summarize it. And it basically relates to the marriage of Boaz and Ruth. Boaz arranges for the sale of the property that was owned by Elimenich and Naomi. In so doing, he must take possession of the property in order to gain favor and have the right to marry Ruth, which he extremely desires. There is one other man that is a closer kinsman than Boaz and has the first right of refusal. However, he cannot take possession of the property without damaging his own inheritance. He declines the offer, clearing the way for Boaz to acquire the property and be able to marry young Ruth. These are the customs of the Israelites in ancient times. So all the witnesses were present, and then all the people who were at the gate, along with the elders, and they said, "We are witnesses to all of this. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you produce children in Ephrathah, and bestow a name in Bethlehem, and through the children that the Lord will give you by this young woman. May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When they came together, the Lord made her conceive, and she bore a son. Then the women said to Naomi,
"Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without next of kin, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has borne him." Then Naomi took the child and laid him in her bosom and became his nurse. The women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." They named him Obed. He became the father of Jesse, the father of David.
So this concludes the book. As we mentioned, it's fairly quick in terms of it, but incredibly beautiful. I'd like to just mention that if you go through the lineage, Ruth actually is the great-grandmother of David, so she's pretty important in this whole story. So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank Marlane for being a beautiful part of this, and I hope you enjoyed. And until the next time, farewell.